recording.
And then I can delete that image.
Go past it, keep going.
Yeah, it'll just keep recording, hopefully.
That's right. Yeah.
We'll see how she goes. All right, so I'm here on this beautiful Sunday morning with, I'm terribly sorry, but I always butcher your name. Is it Josias or Josias?
Josias.
Josias. Yeah. Carbon, a.k.a. Coach Carbon. This is round 2. We did about a year ago. We did the sit-down over at Oxford City,
That's right, yeah.
which was a lot of fun. And now we're playing chess, talking about Bitcoin. And it's your move.
Let's see how we go. I haven't played in a few years.
So you were talking about Bukele's speech about dealing with gangs and whatnot, right? Yeah. What did you think about, what do you think about what he's done with El Salvador?
I think it's incredible. You have the views or the opinions of people on the ground, who, as Bitcoiners, we probably see on Twitter mostly. Then you have the view of mainstream media, which you get from the news, if you still watch that.
I don't.
No, neither do I, but we see clips.
Yeah.
But basically, he was given the nickname or the title of dictator because he decided to have zero tolerance on gangs. In
one of the most gang-infested places in the whole world, right?
Yeah, murder country of the world. But
Murder capital.
Murder capital, yeah. But to see how things have changed, it's incredible to watch. And the latest speech is only about 6 minutes. I recommend everyone giving it a watch. I got very emotional watching it.
Really?
Where he spoke about the worst day they had. I think 82 murders in a 24-hour period. He said every 15 minutes they were getting reports.
Sounds like Chicago.
Terrible. He said, but how do you stop that? Where do you go? Who do you attack? We have that army.
Well, it's like mostly MS-13, right? I think MS-13 is El Salvador.
Okay. I think in the speech, I won't give too much of it, but he identified 3 terrorist groups.
Yeah.
But he said we had to have a zero tolerance and just go and take them out, put them in prison. You've seen the pictures of everyone in prison.
Yeah.
And I think
full on industrial complex style.
Yeah. People who scream human rights said that's not right. But I remember somebody during the time it happened said, "Where were you when 8-year-old girls were being killed in the streets? What would you rather?" And now he's come down with an iron fist, but if you've seen the change in they've had in just over a year and a half, the flourishing that's happening, people flocking there, people coming back from other countries to go and rebuild in El Salvador.
A lot of Bitcoiners are moving to El Salvador as well, right? They've got kind of like an expedited residency program and stuff. That's kind of interesting.
Well, he's making it enticing to go there. The saying in the space is go where you're treated the best, and at the moment that's the place to be. Seems.
Yeah, and if it's safer, right? There's never going to be 100% safety, right? But if it's safer, then people will go there more frequently, right?
And also, most recently, they've announced the volcano bonds.
Right.
You look at history, bonds of other country, war bonds, buying bonds in the government that perpetuate war, or you look to a country that's utilising an asset that is natural, a natural asset that they're using to help their citizens. So.
Yeah, I actually met a guy at the Bitcoin conference Miami, who I met Max and Stacy.
Okay.
They were chatting with my friend Tatum, and he was shooting his between two ASICs thing, right? And met Max and Stacy, and they were with someone who was involved with the mining for El Salvador. So it was kind of interesting to chat with him as well.
How were Max and Stacy?
Yeah, they're good. They're funny. You know, you could check out that episode of Between Two ASICs. It was good. It was good. But it'll be interesting to see how Bitcoin itself really changes people's lives out there. Because no doubt it will.
Yeah.
Right? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that they were using US dollars, if I'm not mistaken, similar to like Panama, or like, I believe they were on the.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's interesting how like the IMF, right, and like, the central banks of the West have really infiltrated the whole world and like created this weird amnesty situation where they put third world countries in massive amounts of debt and just kind of control them,
have them under
through
a chokehold, and go in under the premise that we're here to help. Mm-hmm. But it's Alex Gladstein who breaks it down. Every country that the IMF go in to help just ends up in a worse situation, and it's only as what happens with every government that has power to print. It's the Cantillon effect. Those closest to the money center benefit. Those on the ground lose out.
Do you think inflation has become completely out of control even in the West?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not just affecting places like Argentina.
No.
In England or Germany or the United States, right? Yeah. It's out of control.
All they're doing is papering over the cracks, but the cracks keep reappearing. I saw a tweet today, I can't remember which country it is, I think it was the UK, maybe Germany, where they're quoting 4% inflation. We know it's much more than that.
Yeah.
They've passed a legislation or whatever they call it to allow them 38% pay rise. If your stating inflation is 4%, why do you need 38% pay rise? Incredible.
I think people need to come to grips with the fact that politicians are just self-interested.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they just happen to be in a very lucrative business.
Yeah. But it's similar to those in the IMF and there are some politicians. There's so much content out there, I can't remember who actually said it. But there's somebody who was on Daniel Prince's podcast, and she used to work for the IMF, but high up. And she said she was high enough to realise that it was a scam. But those just beneath are just at a right level that they continue to work thinking they're doing good. And I think the same with politicians. When politicians get in at a low level, not career politicians, but those that get in to make a change, think they're doing something great, but they're in a system.
To be fair, though, like, it's interesting. Is it your move or my move? I think it's yours, because I moved here, didn't I? It's interesting how deep you can go into an institution like that before you realize that it is what it is.
Yeah.
So far, we've had no blood spilled.
Real Bitcoin is low time preference. Let's try something.
You ever seen the movie There Will Be Blood?
No, but
good film.
It came up on my feed yesterday.
Yeah, it's a good film. Good film. Good film.
But there are certain politicians I look at, see what they're trying to do, and think you're not going to be able to do anything meaningful in the current system. And is it Hayek that said in a sly roundabout way we need to create an alternative monetary system? And I think that relates to everything.
Yeah.
In terms of politics, the way the current system is set up in terms of voting, there's not much change you can affect. You need to create a parallel alternative system that people can opt out of one and opt into the other.
Which is clearly Bitcoin.
Yeah. Again, going back to tweets, I did one today because I was showing or seeing some images of what's happening in Gaza, and you can have people can pick sides, but both sides have committed atrocities. But there needs to be a sense of knowing that this isn't right. Whatever's happened, can we just stop, take stock? But no one's ever going to say, okay, the other side, I'm wrong, you're right, or vice versa. So I just did a tweet and said the world's fucked. Sorry for language. Study Bitcoin. There are a few that understand this, and it pains me. And I said, and if we are wrong, it's still been a noble mission. Things that Bitcoiners are discussing and talking about, we are working to make the world a better place, and we understand things from a different let's say mindset, different view, perspective, it may not work out. I believe it will, but if it doesn't, it's been a noble cause, noble mission to work on.
Right. I wonder why it wouldn't work out. Like, what could cause Bitcoin to be derailed this, so many years in to the experiment, and also when corruption is so profitable and when it's so incentivized, then that's what you're going to get, right? So like
so it was the author of Jekyll Island. He has a podcast, or Robert Breedlove just interviewed him, and he said about truth and lies. Knowing the truth just isn't enough. Truth has to have action. So when you ask about what could possibly, why Bitcoin possibly didn't work, is yes, we understand it. We are actioning it, but there are others that may understand it, but taking action may be too much effort for them. It might be easier just to go along with the narrative, go along with the CBDCs that are coming, go along with the UBI, universal basic income that's going to come with that. That might be easier than standing up and saying, this is wrong and I opt out, because there will be a fight coming in some way, in some form. So yeah, that possibly could be an issue.
Well, most people will go with the path of least resistance, right? It's like most people. That's you now. Yeah. Yep. Most people don't own. Morning. Very well. Not at all. We've got an intense game of chess going on over here. Most people don't own gold, right? Like, there's a very small amount of the population owns physical gold. Yeah. And yet central banks own a lot of gold. So I think that's kind of the path that Bitcoin will take. Yeah.
Did you see Saylor's tweet yesterday?
Which one? No, I didn't.
It's performance. So since MicroStrategy took on a Bitcoin standard, started purchasing Bitcoin, it was August 10th, 2020. Performance of Bitcoin against gold. I think gold was at 0. Yeah. Bitcoin's 235%. That was it.
Peter Schiff wrecked.
Yeah. Gold has no use case. So
and that's the thing. I think I shared with you last time that precious metals is what led me to Bitcoin. I didn't shitcoin at all. I just went straight from physical gold and silver to Bitcoin. Okay. Because it's so similar in my mind.
Yeah. And part of my drive now, my mission for education is to help people like yourself just miss that bridge of shitcoinery. I think my lack of playing in the field is starting to show. I need to get my chessboard back up.
I think they call that crowning.
What's that? Crabbing?
I think that's crowning.
Cow crowning.
Yeah. Which I couldn't do if you had checked me. If you had checked my king, I couldn't have crowned. So speaking of chess, right, like, and El Salvador and whatnot, game theory is going to play out.
Yeah.
And some countries, some institutions, some people are going to have the advantage, right?
Yeah. Well, early adopters, right?
Do you consider yourself an early adopter?
I wouldn't, because...
Really?
Because I've seen what's been achieved so far, and obviously have seen my missed opportunities before my other touch points.
Right.
So I wouldn't call myself an early adopter.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, yes, we are. We're still it's still in the 1%.
Still super early.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned the construction thing and some guy talking about he was mining, wasn't he?
Yeah, in the site office, asking my permission, can he bring his gaming chair and computer and
That's crazy.
GPU? And the funniest thing is I drive past that site on a daily basis when I take my daughter to school, and I look and think, that was an opportunity.
Yeah.
A daily reminder.
But do you feel like that was a missed opportunity?
Yeah.
Or do you think the time just wasn't right?
The time was right. I just wasn't ready, if that makes sense.
So was the time right then if you weren't ready?
As in, so I speak to my wife about this all the time. The knowledge that I have now,
Yeah.
so my understanding of Bitcoin and the network, the technology, I would have been ready to receive it at that point, but I didn't have the time.
Yeah.
Having the time to go down the rabbit hole,
Yeah.
it all makes sense, it's clear, but you just need that, even just a day of just, consume that much content, and you realise. But some people haven't got an hour.
Yeah.
So when I hear something or watch something and share that with them, I know they haven't got the time to sit and actually analyse and do some critical
Yeah, most people are
thinking.
just like overwhelmed with, life.
Yeah.
And they don't have time to really, but they don't make time, right? Because you can make time.
But
It's all about that priority.
That's right.
If it's not a priority, then.
But the mission for me now is, when I had touchpoints before, I look back and think, well, I should have been more open, asking, more inquisitive. But the person who was speaking with me should have given me a bigger nudge. So I'm giving people a big nudge now, so they can't come back and say, well, you didn't spend the time to explain it to me. The information is out there.
Yeah. It's interesting how Bitcoin incentivizes the little guy to have the advantage, right? Because you and me can deploy 100% of our capital into Bitcoin, whereas big hedge funds can't do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's impossible for them to do that.
And that's what we're seeing at the moment, aren't we? With the ETFs waiting to be approved. Institutions that at the gate itching to get in but can't. Whereas, say, someone like you and I, we can DCA a dollar a day.
And it actually like makes a difference.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a place where the GDP per capita or whatever is very low. Adoption, again, the little guy has a bit of an advantage because adoption can happen on a micro scale, whereas the big players haven't really entered yet. Do you think we're going to get a ETF like next month as soon as January?
I believe so.
Really?
Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I understand what's going on in the space, but for me, understanding how these institutions have worked in the past, and when ETFs have been proposed or proposals have gone in, the hit rate of certain companies like BlackRock, is it 99% of their submissions have gone through? This one's a little bit delayed, but how much weight they have behind them? How long can the SEC keep saying no?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they can forever, indefinitely. They don't have much of a case.
No.
From what I can tell, anyway.
And the longer it goes on, the more people that are applying. It's like you're creating a dam effect, which is bullish for Bitcoin. But okay, all these people understand something and want a piece of something.
My question is, where are they going to get it? Right? Like, if
Not
they
from-
need
not
to
from me.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, is it me?
Yeah,
I did think that.
So you're not selling at any price?
No.
Really?
Say so, I haven't got anything to sell.
So where are they going to get the Bitcoin, right? Because BlackRock is going to need to acquire a lot for their ETF. And where are they going to get it? And at what price point are they going to actually be able to acquire the asset? Be interesting to see.
It's almost like the line in the sand, isn't it? There will be people that will sell. What is their price?
Yeah.
And we'll soon find out. And this is what true market capitalism. Capitalism is right. Yeah. You have something of value, somebody wants to buy it.
What's your price though?
Is it? I don't think it's a number.
Really?
I think it's to do with time and opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where would I be in my life at that certain point? What do I want to achieve for me and my family? What legacy do I want to have? We're creating generational wealth here. Is it going to be for a sports car? Definitely not.
Yeah.
Is it going to be for a life in a different country? Possibly.
Yeah. So it's also interesting how, like, if, let's say, Bitcoin runs it up to 10 million, bearish, right? Then you may not need to sell it because you can borrow against it, and typically that's not a taxable event if you borrow.
Yeah.
If you get debt on.
But it's a sailor's play, isn't it?
Is that rook coming down?
I think I've absolutely butchered it myself.
But more small countries will adopt.
Yeah, it's in the
Bitcoin, right?
just game theory. So you have obviously El Salvador. They've shown the blueprint. Then possibly Argentina with Mili or Mili.
Yeah.
That area is rife for it.
Yeah. They're tired of the how shall I say, the shenanigans of the IMF and so on and so forth.
And the states. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if there is an alternative which everyone can see, and now can we say it's proven? 2 years. 2 years of a
What? El Salvador.
El Salvador. Yeah.
What?
They're in the black. GDP's up. Standard of living's up.
Tourism.
Approval rating for the president.
Yeah.
Off the scales. How much more evidence?
What do you like most about Bitcoiners as a community?
As a community, the fact that there's no hierarchy. Okay, there are people that we call OGs, whales, all those different terminologies, but where I am right now and things that are going to happen next year have been enabled by people in the Bitcoin community who helped me indirectly by putting content out there, or by me reaching out to them and then providing me an opportunity or information. And even now it's happening. You can send a DM to someone and get something back, or send a DM to someone who then passes it on and you get something back in the space. I've been in other communities where that's happened, but generally in life there's layers that you can't get through. Whereas the Bitcoin community, it seems everyone is approachable, and I think it's because we're all aligned on the same mission.
Interesting.
How about you?
I think more along those same lines, because we're all self-interested, but we kind of fail or succeed together.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's an interest, and even if we have disagreements, there's still an interest to preserve the integrity of what it is we're what it is that we are congregating around, like a fire, right? It's like the fire. It's like the fire of
fire of truth, really. But it's the saying: came for number, go up, stay for the revolution. Once you see it and understand it for what it is, like, how can you not be passionate about it? How can you not want it to succeed?
Yeah, and some would say that it was inevitable, that eventually there would be such a technology.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of necessary, right? I mean, fiat is just, it's just very inefficient technology. Gold is
it was
antiquated.
the best we had at a certain point, wasn't it? For medium of exchange. for freedom of exchange, sorry, for a certain period, when you couldn't move gold around, you had to have something that you could. But the fact that it was able to be manipulated and controlled by centralized parties, that was its failing point.
And naturally, gold would be a what's it called? I'm forgetting what it's called, but like a
Store value.
well, yes, no, but it would be noted, as in like it would be a reserve asset that would be converted to paper, just because generally it's inconvenient to actually exchange physical metal. Of course it's going to be
portability.
Yeah, but there's a better word for it. It's I'm blanking. Here we go. A fractional reserve. That's it. Okay. Fractional reserve. There we go. I had to wait for the coffee to hit. Did you move?
Yeah.
Okay. You sure you want to do that?
I don't know. I'm taking a gamble.
Yeah. I play chess. Oof. How did I not see that coming? Damn. I think that's what's called a queen's gambit, so just took down my queen. Alright, you're rocking the game. Looks like we got a game now. No, you can't do that.
No?
Because you're checked.
Oh, right, yes. Get ahead of myself.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to have these conversations. It's been a year since our last conversation, right?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to have these conversations in a decade. You know?
Perhaps we do it on the beach somewhere.
Yeah. I agree with you, though, that I think that inflation has gotten out of control for the West as well, right?
When you look at the numbers, they're just unquantifiable. As in, people say the numbers, but I don't think they realise what they mean. Trillions they're putting on the balance sheet. I was explaining to somebody at work, there's no energy that has been spent to create that. I said, when they used to print money, at least there was the effort of printing the paper. But now it's just numbers on the screen. It's just the push of a button.
Yeah, and COVID really threw gasoline on the fire of the inflation, right? Because they printed so much during COVID. Check. Got your queen.
Good move. So similar to obviously the game we're playing now, there are educated people in the world who appear to not understand what Bitcoin is.
I'd argue most educated people, depends how you want to define that, right? I mean, side note, I would argue that formal education is actually a disadvantage in many ways. But certainly most educated people have no idea what Bitcoin is.
But do you think there are those that, I'd say, for example, we mentioned earlier, Schiff. I believe he understands it. I believe he's playing a game of I don't understand it, and
You think Schiff has a big bag of Bitcoin?
I believe so. His son did.
Yeah.
He played. I actually had to mute him on social media because it was every time he said something, you can't be that ignorant. You can't spend this much time talking about something and not have a basic understanding. And the fact that your son has, and then someone like who's the ECB, Lagarde.
Yeah.
She mentioned her son has.
Right. I caught that. Yeah.
Jamie Dimon, there's a video of him surfaced of 3 years ago saying his daughter has it. Like, are you guys that stupid, or am I not seeing something?
Yeah. So do you think Jamie Dimon actually understands?
I believe so.
The hard cap on supply.
Yeah.
Because he went on TV and basically expressed that he doesn't understand it, right? Multiple times.
But they must have people around that can educate them.
Right.
And,
you'd hope so.
And again, we say educated people.
Yeah.
They are in positions of power. They've got there because they understand certain things. Maybe they know how to play the game. But I say about myself, I'm just a pleb, right? I understand it because I've listened to people. I've done my own research.
Yeah.
I've come to a certain understanding. I could be wrong, but as Daniel Prince says, we're in an echo chamber, but the echoes make sense, right?
I like it.
When they're spouting their stuff, we can dissect it and say that is wrong. Evidence has shown that what you're saying is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, and also it's interesting that Lagarde, what's her name? Christine Lagarde.
Christine Lagarde, yeah.
She said that she made some cringe comment about how we will get there.
Oh yeah. How will you control inflation? Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
Don't worry about it.
Just forget about it.
But also if you read their publications, right, they're very clear that their top priority is rolling out the central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. They're very clear that that's top priority, right? And it makes you wonder why. I think it's because they have the urgency that they need to effectively roll it out before mass adoption takes place with Bitcoin.
Well, it's the comment, wasn't it, when she said, if there are escape valves, people will use them, meaning they'll shut them off. My first response to that was, why would we need escape valves? Surely, if you're on a boat and there was a way to escape, if it was sinking, you'd want to use that. So her using the terminology escape valves means people are trying to move for something that's not working.
Right. Well, if someone is literally blocking the fire exits, it's concerning.
Yeah.
If I'm in a movie theater and people start boarding up the fire exits, I'm concerned.
I'm telling you, just continue watching the film. We've got it under control. We're sorted.
So let's say there's mass adoption. Let's say you achieve that intergenerational wealth that we all desire to achieve.
Yeah.
Then what?
For me, the project I'm working on, it's about creating a legacy, something that you can pass on for generations. Everyone has their passion. At the moment, I'm using football and education. You have musicians, you have artists, educators. There's so many different ways people can pass on the message. And again, it's not about telling people you're going to get rich. It's about understanding what your time and energy and value is worth. Now, there are many ways you can store your time and energy. at this present moment.
Is there? I feel like there's not that many good ways to do
Oh, not
Yeah.
didn't say good way, but there are many ways to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could store them in Pokemon cards if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But it's not a good way, but there are many ways to do it. But understanding right now which is the best way
Yeah.
and how it can benefit you, not just for today, tomorrow, next year. We talk about 10 years time.
Yeah.
For your children, their children.
That's crazy. It's interesting to look at like what other asset classes you can put your time and energy into that serve as a good inflation hedge, right? It's like equities, real estate, gold to a certain degree. It's also interesting how the middle class is very, very interested in owning their homes, as if that's the only way to, like,
It's what we've been led to believe, though, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. When really, arguably single family home ownership is not an investment. It's more of like, I don't know, a savings account or something, because you've got a bunch of equity in your home.
How quickly can you release that in times of trouble?
But the banks love it. Did you ever move two moves with the pawn?
Yeah, at the start.
Just at the start. So we'll play it that way then. I want to get my queenie back.
It's gonna be fun.
God, Jamie Dimon is a piece of work, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's interesting because, nice move. It's interesting because, oof, I can see how this can get a little hairy here. Let's see, I'll take that back. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, J.P. Morgan had the largest criminal settlement for their illegal practices. Yeah, in their illegal, basically spoofing the precious metals market. This is where I got so frustrated with metals, because basically it's an artificial market, right? And I was buying physical, hoping that there would be a short squeeze, but the short squeeze never came, and that's because they're allowed to trade. They're allowed to spoof the markets, and the CFTC does nothing about it, and it's an interesting criminal racket, really. But J.P. Morgan had the largest criminal settlement of it was like $900 million settlement for a criminal. It was like a RICO. It was serious, and yet they complained about Bitcoin being used by criminals or whatever. J.P. Morgan is one of the dirtiest dogs in the game. Good book you mentioned earlier about Creature of Jekyll Island. That changed my whole perspective, over 10 years ago. I'm like, so they just print money?
Yeah.
How does that work? It's all debt.
So is that what led you to go to look into precious metals?
Yeah. Oh, 08, 09, when they started firing up the money printers with QE 1, 2, 3, Operation Twist, call it whatever you want. They just started printing money. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like, how's that even possible? So certainly that which is scarce and precious, right, like limited in supply, certainly needs to go up in value. And it did, but not to the degree that one could,
I can't believe I didn't see that. If one thing comes from this, it means I'm going to go home and practice, sharpen my skills. What do we say? Proof of work?
Truck. You need to get out of check. Check.
This is it, isn't it? This is it.
Check.
Yeah.
Check. Check.
That mate.
Yep.
Well played.
Cheers. It was a good time. Good chat. What did you think about what did you think about the game?
I've never had a deep conversation about finance
Whilst playing.
and whilst playing chess. So yeah, a lot to think about. What do you call that? That's 3D chess, right?
You went 3D, 10D.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You can somewhat argue that's what some of the elites are playing at the moment.
I think that should have been black. I think the left square should always be black. So I think you can. I think that was perhaps I gained an advantage because of that. That was cool though.
Would you like that chocolate?
Absolutely. Cheers.
Oh, there's two. I didn't realize there were two. Have you done any activities here?
I just hit the gym. At some point, I'm gonna take a dip in the pool.
Yeah, indoor or outdoor?
It's outdoor.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see it right here. There's that Christmas tree. We'll have a peek.
Okay. Oh, funny. But the image that I've seen is from the other view.
But yeah, thanks for the chat. It's been real.